Breaking news, and this is also trending on social media and legacy media right now, that Kamala Harris actually attacked Trump during her first campaign speech, her first campaign rally for president. And also, she exposed Project 2025 as an extreme movement. I'm going to also be addressing that Christian nationalists publicly are also promoting that they only favor Sunday worship and not Saturday, that they are going to compel people to worship on Sunday. This movement called Project 2025, along with the Christian nationalists, this is not just a simple political movement, it's also a grassroots movement. These talking points are in barbershops. Their talking points are heard in the community. Their talking points are being exalted on podcasts, on various live stream platforms, on YouWoke, on X. It's all over, Rumble, all over. And now you're seeing it, that they are influencing politicians. They have placed their politicians in place to enact their actual extreme positions and policies to lead Americans into spiritual slavery. And today, I'm going to be addressing that clear by God's grace. Let's get right into this, my friends. Greetings, salutations to Safe to Serve International and first-time viewers. Welcome to this midday power surge, your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. Do you believe that God's word teaches the mark of the beast is going to precede the second coming of Christ, as brought to view in chapter 14 of Revelation, verse 9 through verse 16? I hope so, because I believe it. I also believe that Project 2025 and Christian nationalism is actually one of several puzzle pieces that will bring about the mark of the beast crisis, forcing us against our consciences, and we won't be able to buy or sell. And when I play these clips, you'll realize they're talking about outlawing, banning transactions, banning commerce, and forcing people to worship on Sunday, the mark of the beast. Yesterday, I played a clip that has created a great stir. Here's the clip, wherein they're actually telling us that they will not accommodate Seventh-day Adventists.
In a pluralist society, if you reinstate blue laws, then you would have to outlaw sports teams on Saturday in order to accommodate Jews for the Sabbath, or Muslims, Seventh-day Adventists. So how do you kind of thread that needle?
Well, we're not obligated to satisfy every group under the sun. You have to make these judgments.
So of course, I'm going to be addressing that clip later on, but take a look at the prominent persons in that clip and take a look at their actual title and where they belong, especially top right of your screen. The editor of First Things. You go to Google and type in First Things and go to their About page. You'll see how prominent they are in the Catholic realm and also even among politicians in America. First Things. Do that research. With that in mind, now they're telling us that they are only going to tolerate one Sabbath, not Saturday, God's seventh day of the week, but Sunday, the first day of the week. Take a look.
From him.
And then you also want to make it easy for Christians to do Christian things. I mean, that's the main rationale given by courts for Sabbath laws. We want to make it very easy for and make it clear to everyone which Sabbath we're in favor of. That's the religion we want to be perpetuated.
We want.
How many Sabbaths are there? How many Sabbaths are there? I will say more on this later on. I'm simply giving a preview of what is to come. So please stay with me by God's grace. As a result, we saw that Trump disavowed Project 2025. And that is clear. All right? And now we have the speech on X where he made that statement disavowing himself from Project 2025. And one great reason is that the statement came from Kevin Roberts, who is now the head of Heritage, the head of Project 2025. And hear what he said.
The reason that so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
He's promoting a civil war. And after all of that, Trump went ahead and brought in J.D. Vance as his running mate, well knowing that J.D. Vance also supports Kevin Roberts, Heritage, Project 2025, and the policies of Christian nationalism.
And I want to thank especially Kevin Roberts and all of the Heritage Foundation for 50 years of incredible work on conservative policy. The old famous.
There it is, Heritage and Project 2025. And this is Kevin Roberts.
1 second, please.
Okay. We have confirmed news that Senator Vance is the vice presidential running mate. You will see a broad smile on my face because you may know that we're good friends. I will offer 2 comments about that. The first is the entire list of names considered are great men and women.
And of course, we have covered that before. They're all connected. Now, take a look at this actual book that J.D. Vance wrote the introduction for. This is Kevin Roberts' book. The book is called Dawn's Early Light, Burning Down Washington to Save America. And now he actually said, we're in a second American Revolution that will remain bloodless if the left allows it. You can see the sentiment. And J.D. Vance did a rally recently, and this is State Senator George Lang, who made this statement exalting a coming civil war.
Donald Trump and Butler County's J.D. Vance are the last chance to save our country politically. I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved.
And of course, he went ahead and apologized.
Just a few hours after that, Senator Lang releasing an apology on X, formerly known as Twitter, saying, quote, "Remarks I made earlier today at a rally in Middletown do not accurately reflect my views. I regret the divisive remarks I made in the excitement of the moment on stage."
And there is an actual statement on his X page. Now, here's my point. Will J.D. Vance now disavow George Lang and these comments publicly, or will he remain silent? The cynics are going to retort and say, Pastor Enriquez, George Lang just apologized, so that should be enough. Well, do you not know Kevin Roberts also said that his statement was taken out of context? And yet Trump disavowed himself. So if we're going to be consistent, what must J.D. Vance do publicly? Here is Kamala Harris, her first campaign rally. And what does she say? As she attacks Trump, she actually called Project 2025 an extreme movement. I'll get to that shortly. Here it is. A second announcement from the left attacking J.D. Vance and Project 2025.
This would signal that Donald Trump is planning on doing a lot of hard governing. He's got somebody in there who's a pit bull. He's an attack dog. He went to law school. He's going to be in there making a whole bunch of stuff happen. So if you're worried about the Project 2025 and all type of stuff, this is a guy that's going to really keep you up at night.
Why is J.D. Vance and Project 2025, Christian nationalism, their policies keep us up late at night? What should we be concerned about? Here's one. These are the words from J.D. Vance. He says the optimal state in America here should be aligned with Catholic social teaching, which is a common good. And what is a common good, J.D. Vance and the Pope of Rome? It is Sunday worship by law. Should that not keep us up late at nights? Knowing that America is now transforming from a constitutional republic to mob rule. That's where we're going. They're only going to favor, you just heard in my opening 3 videos, they only favor one Sabbath. I thought there's only one Sabbath in the Bible. I guess they know that there are more than one. Which one do they espouse? The counterfeit one. The first day of the week, Sunday worship. But the biblical, correct, genuine one, the seventh day of the week, commonly called Saturday. If I were in the courts, I would simply ask J.D. Vance, were those your words? That you want an America aligned with Catholic social teaching? How could he sidestep that question? He's on record. So that means, are you promoting Sunday worship by law? What would he say in court? And what would be the actual response? Guilty as charged from the jurors. Here he is, also promoting with his comrades Sunday worship by law. They're at the meetings.
The public ordination to God is something that has suffered badly in recent decades, but it is easily restored. And I would say it is enacted and continues to be on the books in many different states in the way of blue laws, of Sabbath laws. If you've been following our disputes, we've been proponents of Sabbath laws. A restoration of the Sabbath is the most concrete and material gift that we can give to our nation.
On what day? On what day, J.D. Vance? You're right there. On what day?
Good. A public orientation to God then reflected where? Reflected in concrete ways, in national holidays, in civic liturgies, in laws, indeed, Sabbath laws, Sunday laws that would require a cessation of what?
Commerce.
That's
the mark
of the beast. Cessation.
That's the mark of the beast. Revelation 13, verse 15 through verse 17. You won't be able to buy or sell except you worship on Sunday. Now here is Kamala Harris. This is in her first campaign rally.
But Donald Trump wants to take our country backward. He and his extreme Project 2025 agenda will weaken the middle class. Like, we know we got to take this seriously. Can you believe they put that thing in writing? Read it. It's 900 pages. But here's the thing.
Now, we are going to highlight 2 paragraphs from that document, Project 2025. By no means do I support the donkey party, the Democrats, nor do I support Republicans. I support Jesus. My desire is for souls to be saved. And that's why some folks get uneasy when I cover these things. It's facts, Bible truth that cannot be refuted. And from this point forward, you're going to hear those on the left, even Harris, attack the right, Trump, J.D. Vance, and others, that they are supporting Project 2025.Christian Nationalists. And that's why my voice has to be heard by God's grace. Let's take a look at that. Because now people say, Pastor, I don't believe you're correct. That Project 2025 and Christian Nationalists really want Sunday worship based on their document. Because in their document, while they call for Sunday worship, it's right there, while they call for Sunday worship, they mentioned Judeo-Christian tradition. So they're also talking about resting on Sunday, and they give allowance, emphasize, they give allowance for Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And people say, there it is, Pastor Enriquez, you are incorrect. Because Project 2025, their policy agenda, while they promote Sunday by law, rest and worship, they give allowance for Friday sundown, Saturday sundown for other denominations and religions. That's what the documents say. To that you say, what, Pastor Enriquez? Do you understand history? That it will be repeated? Do you know how Sunday worship became law the first time throughout the Roman Empire? Yeah. The first centuries after Christ's first advent. Do you realize Sunday was brought in along with the Sabbath by law? Side by side, on par, on the same level, until Sunday was exalted, and proportionately the Sabbath was demoted, and those who remained faithful to God's seventh-day Sabbath were now outlawed, prosecuted, persecuted, and killed. That's history. That's a nail in a sure place. So don't tell me about their agenda. It gives allowance for Friday sundown and Sabbath sundown. Don't tell me that. To put my mind at ease, no Sunday law, no forced worship. You already heard them say in the beginning, in those two clips, that they tell you they're only promoting one Sabbath, only one. That means they write one thing, but they'll say and do another. Is that biblical? That's Matthew 23. The Jewish leaders, they said one thing in their documents, but did something else. Here it is now. That's Constantine. Everything I say, I give you proof. Some talking heads don't give you proof. They want you to trust their words. Don't trust any man. As for facts and biblical evidences, there it is. Constantine, March 7, 321, the first Sunday law in the Roman Empire since the first advent of Christ. Red words at the bottom, no buying, no selling on the day of the sun, S-U-N. That means Sunday worship came from sun worship. Sunday came from sun. That's paganism. Don't argue with history and the Bible. Come out of sun worship. That's heathen worship. Next, there it is. A day for worship and prayer. Constantine said that. Don't argue with me. That's evidences. Next, what happened? There it is, friends. Constantine was actually influenced by church leaders to enforce Sunday. Actually saying it will spread your influence. Does that sound familiar today? Oh, Mr. Donald, if you follow our agenda and force church doctrines, even Sunday worship, you'll become a modern day Constantine. You'll have more power in the world. That sounds very familiar. Next, there it is, friends. What happened? While Sunday on the Sabbath, it's right there, friends, history. While Sunday on the Sabbath were on the same plane, the Sabbath, biblical Sabbath, was demoted, and Sunday was correspondingly exalted. You see it now? And God's people on the seventh-day Sabbath were prosecuted and killed. So what's coming? Now, may I give you history? This cannot be refuted. Do you know in the Bible, Constantine is depicted as the era of the black horse in Revelation 6? You need to understand this. But before the black horse, there was a red horse. And the red horse in Revelation 6, verse 3 and verse 4, it typifies bloody persecution for God's people beginning under Emperor Nero. Paul was killed by Nero. The Christians were persecuted by Nero. Does that sound familiar today? What is Project 2025 and Christian nationalists are saying now? Christians are being persecuted by the left. The left have taken over the state and forcing us against our conscience. We are being prosecuted. We can't speak about God in the public sphere. That sounds familiar. Next, there it is. That is the red horse, Constantine, persecution. But listen now, friends. Then came what? The black horse, the time of Constantine. And there was something called the Edict of Milan. Look it up. Edict of Milan, that brought an end to Christian persecution. In that same time period, Black Horse, peace, what happened? Constantine now brought in Sunday worship, sun worship, along with Sabbath worship by law. Do you see it now? And then Sunday was exalted, the Sabbath was demoted. Does that sound familiar today? We want Christians to thrive in America publicly, in the public schools, in the public square. Does that sound familiar today? So what's coming next? Sunday worship. Do you see it now? And in the document, their policy agenda, what do they say? We will give allowance for Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. It's on the same par. History is being repeated. There it is. There it is. Clear for those who want to see it. If Jared nod his head from north to south, that means it's a nail in a sure place. What comes next? Revelation chapter 6, verse 7 and verse 8. Then come the pale horse, persecution. So the very same thing that caused a black horse to ride, Sunday worship, will bring about persecution for God's people. That's why I cannot relent and be quiet. There it is. Let's move on now. Does it make sense? This is Christian Nationalist. I'm going to go deep now. Buckle your seatbelts. Watch this.
In a pluralist society, if you reinstate blue laws, then you would have to outlaw sports teams on Saturday in order to accommodate Jews for the Sabbath, or Muslims, Seventh-day Adventists. So how do you kind of thread that needle? Well,
we're not obligated to satisfy every group under the sun. You have to make these judgments.
And for some people, it sounds plausible. We can't accommodate every denomination, every religion. It sounds plausible. And that's why the churches should not influence the state to meddle in religion, to dictate days you must worship on, days you must rest on, because you cannot accommodate every religion. Does that make sense? The Bible says that. The civil power only has jurisdiction over the last 5 commandments, not the first 4. And number 5 has an asterisk, a question mark. You don't touch that. That's Romans 13, the whole chapter. You don't touch that. That means they want a president only for Sunday worshipers. But yet the president goes on the campaign trail. Does he want votes from Muslims? I guess not. Based on these statements, the president or whoever is running for president does not want Jewish votes. Votes from Jews then? Because they'll only accommodate Sunday keepers. I thought these were the United States, guaranteeing liberty for all. So in these rhetoric, you can see it is mob rule. Think about this. Aren't Seventh-day Sabbath keepers a minority? What is mob rule and communism? What is a democracy? The will of the majority suppresses liberty of conscience for the minority. So what are we seeing? America is transitioning from a constitutional republic to a full-blown democracy, totalitarianism, mob rule in the sphere of religion. Watch this. They'll compel you to worship on Sunday. Don't take my words for it. Here's proof.
Our recent explication, or one recent explication you might have seen, you might have even signed, called for, quote, restoring to our nation a proper public orientation toward the virtues of patriotism and courage, honor and loyalty, religion and wisdom, congregation and family, man and woman, the Sabbath and the sacred, and reason and justice.
As a legislator, I just want to see people in church. So his idea was, they were talking about these blue laws, and the thing is, well, can we at least make laws that make church attendance easier? Our goal here is not justice. It's like, we're going to use the statist apparatus, we're going to use the legislative branch, we're going to use man-made law, and our goal is, can we encourage people to go to church?
Notice, not only are we going to make it easier by law for people to go to church, next, we're going to force you to worship on Sunday. Who is calling for that? Kevin Roberts? To stop violence, go to church on Sunday? Who's calling for that? Morality back in America, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson? It's clear.
We should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice on Sunday to see if we can get back to having a moral rebirth.
It's clear. And who's calling for that? Trump?
Now allowed to use it. I get in there, you're going to be using that power at a level that you've never used it before. It's going to bring back the churchgoer. I mean, you have to see. I don't like the charts when I see charts where they're going in the wrong direction. We don't like that. We're going to bring it back. And I really believe it's the biggest thing missing from this country. It's the biggest thing missing. We have to bring back our religion. We have to bring back Christianity in this country.
By force?
I supported school prayer, very important, school prayer, which we unfortunately had to force into some schools. It should be
force. Listen attentively to this.
Is the degree to which you would not just make it easy to be a Christian, right? But to attempt to take the matter in hand to some degree, right? To compel attendance.
Mercy.
Something you were talking about.
That's clear. So friends, on one hand, remember several months ago, or maybe 2 years ago, I've been sharing with you the actual mandate for Christian nationalism. They have said in their books and public speeches, they stated that they want to control the civil government. Laws must be put on the books to now accommodate, make sure all stores are closed, to now encourage people to go to church on Sunday. Now they've moved on and progressed. Not only that, but to compel people to go to church on Sunday.
Is the degree to which you would not just make it easy to be a Christian, right? But to attempt to take the matter in hand to some degree, right? To compel attendance.
It's something you were talking about.
Mercy. Now, friends, does Christ force people to worship? Does the Lord force people to go to church? If that were the case, why would God have made Adam and Eve with choice? Who alone wants to force our conscience? Satan. Satan. So who is behind this movement? The devil. CC in the chat writes, are they going to force an atheist to go to church? Exactly. Nadi writes, are we ready for this? And friends, remember, the left just did this in the pandemic. Notice, did the left not use the state to accommodate and forcing people to go along with the policy to combat the pandemic, the virus? Remember, they said, you have a choice. However, we are going to make sure you can't hold your job, you can't shop, unless you get this inoculation. So they created the atmosphere to force the conscience. The right is now saying that's what they're going to do. Create the atmosphere to now force the conscience. Force is the last resort of every false religion. Listen again.
From him. And then you also want to make it easy for Christians to do Christian things. I mean, that's the main rationale given by courts for Sabbath laws. We want to make it very easy for and make it clear to everyone which Sabbath we're in favor of. That's the religion we want to be perpetuated.
We want.
So wait a minute. Since he said that, that means he's actually stating that there is more than one Sabbath. Who is he talking about? What are the denomination? They know about Seventh-day Adventists. They know about the Jews. It's just like Haman in the book of Esther. Will you bow and follow me, Mordecai and Esther? History is being repeated. They know who are not going to bow down on Sunday. They know it, and they're already telling us. We are going to make it very clear which Sabbath we are promoting in government here in America. Are we ready for this? And who is also a part of Project 2025.Christian Nationalism? It's Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, world renowned, right? brain surgeon, who is a professed Seventh-day Adventist. This is from their actual website, Project 2025. Look at the first item, number 15, who is also an author contributor, Ben Carson. Do you know why he signed on? Because he might have thought that since the document says we are promoting Sunday, but give allowance for Friday sundown, Saturday sundown. Okay, I agree with that. That means Ben Carson would have given the right hand of fellowship to Constantine in 321 AD. He would have said, I support Constantine because Constantine said Sunday and the Sabbath. That's how we must reason. How will the devil deceive us? He comes as an angel of light. You catch fish with the right bait. To deceive, you must come with a counterfeit and present a facade that make people think you are for them when you are against them. To destroy Americans' freedoms in a movement, you must make the movement say, write, and appear as if they're for liberty, as if they're for freedoms. But behind the scenes, they're working to strip away the same. Dr. Ben Carson, where's the eye salve? And how many are going to follow you because you're on the inside? You were once a cabinet member in the Trump's administration. That's why I can't keep quiet nor silent. The protest must continue. Let me get back here.
Hunter seemed concerned that if we have laws against blasphemy, which religion will end up, being persecuted?
Russ, this is for you. In a pluralistic society, in the example then, in terms of...
Hold on. They're telling us that when they get their agenda across, church and state, religions are going to be persecuted. Which one? The ones that don't go along with the Sabbath, they want to make clear they're promoting. They don't favor any other Sabbath, only one Sunday. So they're telling us they're going to prosecute and persecute all other denominations and people that do not go along with their agenda.
Hunter seemed concerned that if we have laws against blasphemy, which religion will end up, being persecuted?
Russ, this is for you. In a pluralistic society, in the example then, in terms of reinstating laws, at times then, you're not just talking about dealing with secularism, you're then isolating other religious groups.
What he's made plain is he is a Christian nationalist. The movement that he is participating in is Christian nationalism. And that movement cannot have Jews in it, atheists in it, others in it. It is exclusively Christian, and America is a Christian nation. And in his view, Christians will take over, and by taking over through the elections, they will then impose their Christian values on the nation, which will then be for the good of the nation. So everyone benefits. The only ones who can work together, the only ones who can be part of this are Christians.
So,
and they will isolate other religions and denominations. Listen.
I do think the state legislature in Colorado, where you're living, ought to limit, or at least the local Colorado Springs City Council ought to prohibit youth sports leagues from having practices or games before 2:00 on Sunday. This is a serious problem now for church-going families. Their kids get real fired up about sports, and they're on travel teams, and next thing you know, they're not going to church anymore.
Mercy. 2 points. So the parents do not control their children anymore. So the state now must compel children to go to church. And notice, close all commerce before 2:00 on Sunday. If Sunday were the Sabbath, the Bible teaches sunset to sunset, not sunset to 2 p.m. Sunday is not the biblical Sabbath. Now, this is Jonathan Berry, who is the lead author of Project 2025. He was in the House of Congress.
I'm sorry, Mr. Connor.
Mr. Berry, you're the co-author of
Project 2025, the labor section. Am I correct?
The lead author on that section, correct.
Go down this list.
I want to get some facts out. There's been so much.
He is the lead author on the labor section. And there he is. He's speaking right there. No order. He's speaking there. Listen to him now as he tells you what is in Project 2025. Here he is.
The proposal that's in our book is...
What book? Project 2025. Listen. Come back.
The proposal that's in our book is amending the basic federal overtime law, Fair Labor Standards Act, to require that overtime be paid for all work done on the Sabbath. But it would be an encouragement and inducement to rest, but really to kind of coordinate commercial activity for the other 6 days.
Hold on. He said to coordinate work for the other 6 days. So how then in Project 2025, you said, watch now, we oppose Sunday, but we give allowance for Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. How many days will be left in the week? 5. But you just said work 6 days. Work 6 days. So are you saying that those who rest on Friday sunset to Sabbath sunset can now, okay, that's my Sabbath, on Sunday, go ahead and work? No. Because the law of the land is going to say rest on Sunday. So what they're telling you, they write one thing, but the agenda is you work 6 days and rest only on the 7th, which they call Sunday. It's not Sunday. It's right there in the document. That's the allowance. Friday sunset to Sabbath sunset. So how then could you say that you're pushing for 6 working days? Does it make sense?
The proposal that's in our book is amending the basic federal overtime law, Fair Labor Standards Act, to require that overtime be paid
rubbing his nose
for all work done on the Sabbath. But it would be an encouragement and inducement to rest, but really to kind of coordinate commercial activity for the other 6 days.
Commercial activities for the other 6 days. But you want the state to end all commercial activities to exalt Sunday, but not Saturday. And yet you say, we'll give allowance for the biblical Sabbath. It makes no sense. So how could Ben Carson and other SDA promote that? That means a time is going to come while they give allowance for God's biblical Sabbath, they'll force you not only to worship on Sunday, but to work on the Sabbath, just as it was in Egypt. The time will come when men will not only forbid Sunday work, but they will try to force men to labor on the Sabbath. Do you see it now? And men will be asked to renounce the Sabbath, subscribe to Sunday observance, or forfeit their freedom and their lives, just as it was in Egypt. Every earthly support will be cut off. As Hillary writes in the chat, John 11:47-53 is being fulfilled. And notice the politicians will go along with the agenda to secure their votes. Great Controversy, page 592. They'll go along with the agenda to get their votes. I have one question for you, my friends. Are we ready for the mark of the beast? Are we ready for the fiery furnace, as in Daniel chapter 3? One last question as I bring this to a close. Is the Sunday movement really in darkness? And if it were in darkness, is it not approaching the light? That's the question. That's the question. What point stood out to you today? Drop a comment below. Thank you all for joining us live. And for those of you who came here after, give the video a thumbs up. Share the video so others can be enlightened. The Lord is definitely soon to come. Get prepared. Remain prepared. Get others prepared before it is too late. And remember, the protest continues.